Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to N3 Primetime. I'm Angie Ress, and boy, do we have a jam-packed show for you tonight. First up, former President Donald Trump is turning the tables and taking the stand. That's right, he's testifying in his own defense in a move that could shake up the 2024 elections and set a legal precedent. And speaking of Trump, staunch Republican Mike Huckabee is firing off a warning shot. Is justice being served, or are federal institutions being weaponized for political gain? Also on the docket tonight, Hunter Biden faces a looming indictment. Could this evolve into a full-blown constitutional crisis? But wait, there's more. Billionaire Bill Gates making a puzzling move, dumping millions into a struggling beer company? What's his endgame? And finally, is the public finally pushing back against George Soros' backed DAs? A change is in the air. Don't forget, later in the show, we dive into the comments section where we get to hear from you, our viewers. Plus, our Looking at You segment will spotlight someone causing a real stir you need to know about. It's a night of truth, it's a night of revelations, and you won't want to miss a second of it. Now let's toss it over to Gary.
Good evening and welcome to N3 Primetime. Tonight we're diving into stories that really matter to you, your future, and to this great nation of ours. We're on the precipice of pivotal challenges and changes. Legal battles that could undermine our electoral process, looming indictments that threaten the highest echelons of power, and financial games played by billionaires that have far-reaching implications. These are stories that expose not just the character of individuals, but the soul of our nation. And we've got our finger on the pulse of America, covering it all right here for you. You know, it's a lot like sailing through treacherous waters. You need a dependable compass to steer your safety. Now, speaking of navigation, let's talk about safeguarding your future. Since the 70s, the U.S. dollar has lost a staggering 85% of its value. With the upcoming elections, guess what? The government can turn the printing presses into overdrive, risking rampant inflation. But there is a lifeboat, and it's made with gold. Gold withstands inflation. It's as simple as that. Secure your financial freedom by investing with Noble Gold Investments. They're even offering a free quarter-ounce gold standard coin. Visit nextnewsgold.com or call 877-646-5347. And invest in something as steadfast as your American values. And even if you're not investing, give them a call and tell them thank you for sponsoring this program. Angie, back to you. What do you have lined up on tonight's Can't Miss episode?
America, if you think the news couldn't get more explosive, brace yourselves. First up, Harvard University, a place you'd expect to be a bastion of free speech, fails miserably, scoring 0 out of 100 in a new report. Is the suppression of free speech a dangerous trend spilling over our college campuses? Then down in Florida, a cheeky three-legged bear is redefining what it means to party crash, and he's got a taste for White Claw. While it may be amusing, it's also a wake-up call how safe our homes are from unexpected guests. But folks, we're just getting started. Tonight we ask, is President Biden really up to the job? His recent blunders from stumbling speeches to awkward exits have Americans questioning his mental fitness. And lurking in the shadows is Vice President Kamala Harris, ever so prepared to step up. Plus, Trump's Truth Social is set to go public, challenging the social media giants and becoming a new sanctuary for free speech. And finally, more bizarre behavior from Biden at the Medal of Honor ceremony, raising even more questions about the capacity to lead. These stories matter, America, because they touch on our freedom, our safety, and the very integrity of our institutions. Now back to Gary for tonight's first special report.
Good evening, America. I'm Gary Franchi, and tonight we have an absolutely earth-shaking announcement from President Donald Trump that you don't want to miss. If you think that you've seen the last of Trump taking center stage, think again. Just when critics and pundits were suggesting that the former president would shy away from the legal limelight, he makes a jaw-dropping declaration that he'll be testifying in his own defense in the slew of legal battles he faces. No legal counsel speaking for him. Trump says that he will speak for himself. You'll hear what he said and why it matters. And folks, you don't want to miss our final thought tonight, because we're breaking down why this moment could be a turning point for the American justice system itself. So, ladies and gentlemen, the former president and likely 2024 Republican primary candidate, the nominee, Donald Trump, isn't just sitting back and letting others speak for himself. He's taken to Hugh Hewitt's radio show and he said, oh yes, absolutely, he will testify in his own defense at any of the trials stemming from the various indictments he faces. Listen.
If you have to go to trial, will you testify in your own defense?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
You'll take the stand.
That I look forward to, because that's just like Russia. That's all the fake information from Russia. Remember when the dossier came out and everyone said, oh, that's so terrible, that's so terrible. And then it turned out to be it was a political report put out by Hillary Clinton and the DNC. They paid millions for it. They gave it to Christopher Steele. They paid millions and millions of dollars for it, and it was all fake.
Now, Trump didn't just say he would testify. He said he's looking forward to it. He said, I look forward to it. He likened the whole ordeal to the infamous Russia investigation that led to the Mueller probe, which, let's remember, turned up zilch, zero, nada. Not a single evidence of criminal conspiracy was found between Trump and Russian officials during the 2016 election. Now, let's remind everyone of the charges Donald Trump is facing. Criminal charges from 3 different jurisdictions. First, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's probe related to alleged hush money payments during the 2016 presidential campaign. Trump pleaded not guilty to all 34 felony counts, and then special counsel Jack Smith indicted Trump on charges stemming from an investigation of the former president's retention of classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago residence. Trump has pleaded not guilty to all 37 charges. Finally, Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fannie Willis charged Trump with a myriad of counts, including criminal solicitation and conspiracy. Trump has pleaded not guilty to all of those charges as well. And I have to tell you about something extraordinary. If you're tired of feeling sluggish and want to hit the reset button, consider this. Donald Trump isn't the only one who needs a clean slate. Just like he's fighting to clear his name, you can fight to clear your body of toxins. Pure Body Extra is not some mystical solution. It's science, folks, made from zeolite, and this spray detoxifies you down to the cellular level. The good people at Touchstone Essentials are offering this to our viewers for just $5. Don't miss this exclusive deal. Go to detoxwithgary.com and claim your offer right now. So why does Trump's declaration to testify matter? Well, first off, he's not worried, not one bit. While the mainstream media wants to paint him as a man in the corner, Trump is not only stepping into the ring, but he's also making the ring his own. He's the first former president of the United States to face criminal charges, and he's taking an unprecedented approach by choosing to testify in his own defense. Remember, this is not a man who is worried. This is a man who is confident and secure in his innocence. When asked about the obstruction charge and whether he ordered anyone to move boxes, Trump didn't answer the question directly, but stated that he's totally covered under the law and referred to the Presidential Records Act, which all should read. Watch.
Now, I think that obstruction charge is going to get the trial, Mr. President. I think that.
I'll testify.
Okay, if you do, and they ask you on the stand, did you order anyone to move boxes? How will you answer?
I'm not answering that question for you, but I'm totally covered under the law.
Okay.
If you read the Presidential Records Act, just read it. You take a look at it.
And let's not forget the timing of these trials. One is set to begin on March 4th, 2024, just a day before the Super Tuesday primaries. Another trial date is being discussed for May of next year, just ahead of the GOP primaries and the Republican convention. Convenient timing? You be the judge. Also, how can we ignore the glaring parallel with the failed Russia probe? The Mueller investigation yielded nothing after 2 years and millions of taxpayer dollars wasted. Trump rightly reminded everyone that the so-called damning dossier turned out to be a political hit job funded by Hillary Clinton and the DNC. By testifying, Trump could set a precedent, one that could change how presidents, politicians, and indeed any American facing legal scrutiny approach their defense. Instead of hiding behind lawyers and spokespeople, Trump is choosing to speak directly to the American people and the legal system. This bold move signifies that Trump still believes in transparency and is willing to put himself under scrutiny to prove his point. He's practically daring this system to prove him wrong, to show there's any substance to the accusations he's facing. If he's willing to testify, what does that say about the strength of the charges against him? Weak, ladies and gentlemen, weak. So don't let the media circus and political theater fool you. This is a man who is standing firm, ready to face challenges head on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's revelation isn't just another political stunt or media fodder. It's a statement of courage and a call for justice in the face of severe and questionable allegations. It's an unprecedented act from an unprecedented president. Donald Trump's decision to testify could very well change the trajectory of how political trials and investigations are carried out in this country. It sends a message to all politicians, from local councilmen to presidents, that if you believe in your innocence, stand up and speak for yourself. Don't cower behind expensive legal teams and public relations machinery. Face the American people and let justice prevail. This story matters because it's about the integrity of our justice system and the right to a fair and impartial trial. It's about the American ideal that you are innocent until proven guilty. In a surprising turn of events, Harvard ranks last for free speech. Angie, tell us more about this in your report.
America's so-called premier educational institution, Harvard University, has officially been crowned the worst place for free speech in our great nation. A new report by the Foundation of Individual Rights and Expression, better known as FIRE, says Harvard scored a flat-out 0 out of 100 for free speech rights on campus. Over 55,000 students were surveyed across 248 colleges, and guess what? It's not just Harvard. The report warns that free speech is in jeopardy all over America's campuses. One Harvard student even admitted to hiding their real opinions online, fearing backlash. So much for open dialogue. On the flip side, institutions like Michigan Tech and Auburn are being recognized for promoting free speech. It's high time our colleges remembered that debate and diverse opinions are the bedrocks of education. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. A grim forecast suggests elections could escalate into conflict. Gary, what is in this special report that has everyone concerned?
Tonight we've got a special report that you cannot afford to miss. The stakes are no less than the future of this great nation and the bedrock of our democratic process. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee has dropped a truth bomb so alarming that it's jolted both sides of the political divide. What if the next election isn't decided by votes but by force? That's the can of worms Huckabee has opened, and tonight we're diving in. We're dissecting the charges against Trump, scrutinizing the manipulation of the Justice Department, and revealing the political chess game that could cost America its soul. Stick around for our final thought. It's a wake-up call to anyone who cares about the future of this nation. So, let's not waste any time and dive straight into the heart of the matter. The man who has lit a fire under this national conversation is none other than Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas, and a figure who commands respect among conservatives. He recently unleashed a seismic warning that has just ignited not just conservative media, but forced even the mainstream media to stop and ponder. In his latest episode on his TBN program, Huckabee sent chills down the spine of every patriotic American who was listening. I'd like you to hear what he said from the man himself. Watch.
Do you know how political opponents to those in power are dealt with in third world dictatorships, banana republics, and communist regimes? Well, it's simple. The people in power use their police agencies to arrest their opponents for made-up crimes in an attempt to discredit them, bankrupt them, imprison them, exile them, or all of the above. And if you're not paying attention, you may not realize that Joe Biden is using exactly those tactics to make sure that Donald Trump is not his opponent in 2024. Now, folks, this kind of thuggery at taxpayer expense isn't supposed to happen in the United States. No, we're supposed to be a nation of laws and not a nation of powerful people. But the Biden administration is in full meltdown mode to hide the money laundering, influence peddling, and outright bribery that Joe, his son Hunter, and their associates have been conducting for well over a decade that has enriched them to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. It's been exposed by numerous sources ranging from former business associates who knew firsthand of the corruption, as well as government whistleblowers who came forward after witnessing the so-called Justice Department, the IRS, the FBI, and the Attorney General himself, all conspiring to hide the Biden family crimes, while all the time being obsessed with charging Donald Trump with crimes that even liberal, Democrat, and never Trumper constitutional scholars such as Alan Dershowitz and Jonathan Turley assert are not even crimes at all. In fact, they and other objective legal scholars are appalled by the attempt to smear Trump at any cost, while seeing members of the Biden team feverishly try to destroy Trump in the courthouse rather than at the ballot box. Here's the problem. If these tactics end up working to keep Trump from winning or even running in 2024, it is going to be the last American election that will be decided by ballots rather than bullets.
He basically said, if these tactics work to prevent Trump from winning or even participating in the 2024 election, then that's it. We're looking at America where elections will be decided by force, not by the democratic process. That, ladies and gentlemen, is not just a bolt from the blue, it's a storm warning. And Huckabee didn't stop there. He went on to accuse President Biden and his operatives of having a singular mission: destroy Trump in the courtroom so he doesn't get a chance to be destroyed at the ballot box. Why? Because they're afraid. They're afraid of facing a political heavyweight like Trump in the next election. The Biden administration wants to sideline him, and they're using the full might of the FBI, the IRS, and the Department of Justice to do it. In Huckabee's words, these institutions are now conspiring to shield the Biden family's dirty laundry while they're obsessively focusing on pinning anything on Trump. Now, there's something you want to hear. The government has a history of devaluing what should be stable, just like the U.S. dollar, which lost 85% of its value after breaking from gold. Now they're devaluing our electoral process. Don't let your future be devalued by biased agendas. Be smart, invest in gold with Noble Gold Investments. It's the only solid bet against inflation and instability. Secure your future today and get a free 24-karat quarter-ounce gold standard coin. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com or call 877-646-5347. So where does this leave us? Let's get into the specifics of the legal mire that Trump is wading through. He's got indictments against him across multiple states. He's being investigated for conspiracies related to the 2020 election. He's in hot water over confidential documents. In Manhattan, they're digging up old hush money payments related to Stormy Daniels. In Georgia, he's facing challenges over attempts to void the 2020 election results in that state. Yet, what's most astonishing is that polls are showing that these legal confrontations are actually boosting his standings in the GOP primaries. Could it be that average Joe in America sees through the legal chicanery and recognizes it for what it is, a blatant attempt to sideline a strong candidate? Huckabee, a man who himself tried twice to win the Republican nomination for president, knows the political game inside and out, and he acknowledges that Trump remains a GOP powerhouse. After observing the recent Republican National Committee debate, a debate that Trump was notably absent from, Huckabee stated that the other candidates simply don't have Trump's gravitas. It was, in his words, more of a game show than a serious debate. So, what are we really dealing with here? We're dealing with institutions, agencies, and offices of the U.S. government potentially being used as political weapons. If Huckabee's warning holds any water, and there's no reason to believe the man is crying wolf, then we're sliding down a very dangerous slope. A slope that doesn't lead to a valley of democratic ideals, but to a dark pit where ballots are useless and bullets, unfortunately, speak louder. Those are his words. And why is all this happening? Well, for one simple reason: fear. Fear among the Biden administration and its allies that they will have to go toe-to-toe with a political juggernaut like Donald Trump. That's the long and short of it. Huckabee's warning encapsulates the concerns of millions of Americans who are paying attention. We should be gravely concerned when legal disputes and courtroom drama threaten to overshadow the electoral process. So to wrap this up, Huckabee's words aren't just a critique, they're a dire warning. A warning that suggests we're standing at a precipice. If we allow the courts to become political arenas, if we permit these hallowed institutions to be used as cudgels against political opponents, then we're doing more than just undermining an election. We're undermining the very core of America's democratic principles. And that, my friends, is something worth losing sleep over. So here we are at the end of this report, and that should shake you to your core. Mike Huckabee's warning isn't just a political talking point, as a harbinger of the crumbling pillars of our republic if we don't pay attention. If the courts become political arenas, if we allow due process to be manipulated by those in power, then we're not just talking about elections being decided by bullets instead of ballots. We're talking about the end of America as we know it. This goes beyond party lines, beyond the Trump versus Biden narrative. This is about the foundational integrity of a nation built on the principle of fair representation. It's time to wake up, America. If we don't defend the integrity of our electoral process now, we may never get another chance. Now, in lighter news, a thirsty bear in Florida has developed a taste for White Claw. Angie, what's the buzz on this unusual break-in?
Forget your average party crasher. Lake Mary, Florida has its own three-legged bear, turning a simple suburban life into a wild adventure. Captured on home surveillance video, this cheeky bear didn't just invade the home, he threw a party, kicking it off by cracking open not one, but 3 cans of White Claw. It's all fun and games until we realize the serious question here. What's next? Are we to expect a gang of raccoons raiding our liquor cabinets? This entertaining escapade serves as both a laugh and a warning that nature is unpredictable. Why White Claw, you ask? Maybe it's the bear's summer drink of choice? Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. New developments hint at a possible indictment that could shake Biden's presidency. Gary, what's in this special report?
And now a story tonight you can't afford to miss, a saga involving Hunter Biden. that could very well plunge our nation into uncharted waters. Special Counsel David Weiss has declared that the president's son will be indicted. Let me tell you, it's about time someone held the Biden family accountable. But what makes this case a must-watch? Is it the potential legal fireworks, the looming constitutional crisis, the whispers from IRS whistleblowers? We've got all the details, and you won't believe what's unfolding right before your eyes. Stick around for the full scoop, because at the end, our final thought will reveal why this case could unravel the very fabric of trust that holds America together. So welcome to this all-important discussion, my friends. If you've been paying attention to the news, or maybe even if you haven't, you've probably heard that Hunter Biden is facing an impending indictment. You heard that right. The president's son could soon find himself in some serious legal hot water. Special Counsel David Weiss is no longer playing games. He's finally putting his foot down. And not a moment too soon, I might add. According to a recent court filing, Weiss is acting under the constraints of the Speedy Trial Act, which requires the return of an indictment by a grand jury by September 29th of 2023. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. Watch.
Now, the special counsel, David Weiss, intends to seek an indictment against Hunter Biden relating to gun charges by the end of the month, that according to a new court filing. Biden had previously reached a deal involving a gun possession charge that would have allowed him to avoid prosecution if he met certain conditions over a 24-month period. Once his plea deal, though, fell apart in court, the future of the gun deal has been in limbo.
It's got to burn up those guys over at CNN to have to report that stuff. But what you may not know, and what the mainstream media would love to gloss over, is that Weiss initially was willing to let Hunter off the hook. Can you imagine that? Weiss was ready to end this without requiring a guilty plea on any charges. Sounds like a cushy deal that would make any American jealous, except the tables have turned when two brave IRS agents stepped forward. These whistleblowers made allegations that they had been stifled from taking the investigation further, presumably because some meddling from higher-ups at the Justice Department. In the face of this new information, Weiss did an about-face. He took a U-turn and demanded that Hunter Biden plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax crimes and enter into a deferred prosecution agreement on a gun charge. It's almost like suddenly the accountability switch was turned on. And folks, you know, Hunter Biden has been struggling to dodge accountability. Similarly, many Americans are struggling with weight issues, trying to dodge health problems. But unlike Hunter, you have a solution at your fingertips, an amazing supplement that uses CLA, a natural ingredient that helps reduce fat storage and boost fat breakdown. Think of it as the special counsel for your body, cutting through the fat just as Weiss is cutting through the legal maze. Now, for a limited time, you can get 51% off, and don't dodge this offer. Seize it now by clicking on the link below at trimwithgary.com. Now, Hunter Biden's legal team has also been pulling some daring moves. His attorney, Chris Clark, came out swinging with a threat that if Hunter is charged, they would drag President Biden himself in to testify, okay? This is where it gets sticky. So consider the implications of that. A sitting president testifying in court against his own Department of Justice. Talk about a constitutional crisis waiting to happen. In the backdrop of all this, you have Attorney General Merrick Garland appointing Weiss as a special counsel to continue the investigation, presumably because the implications are too big to ignore. You also have the younger Biden and his legal team trading blows with the government. They had previously negotiated not one but 2 agreements that would have ended this protracted investigation into his dubious tax and business dealings. But as fate would have it, those agreements collapsed, adding yet another layer of complexity to an already convoluted case. And there's another twist. Hunter's team insists the government violated the previously agreed upon terms for the gun charge. They argue that this agreement, known as a diversion agreement, should be honored. On the other side, Weiss is a different story. He's clear. The government will go ahead with the criminal case. Now add the political angle to this. Republican leaders from the House Judiciary Oversight, Ways and Means Committees have now jumped in. They're demanding documents and communications between Hunter's attorneys and Weiss. They smell something fishy, and they're out for answers. So let's summarize. What started as a potential slap on the wrist for Hunter Biden has snowballed into a quagmire that could very well engulf the President of the United States himself. We're talking about a situation where questions are raised about the integrity not just of the Biden family, but the Department of Justice itself and the entire legal system. But some Republicans, like Arizona Representative Ellie Crane, say they're not holding their breath on these new developments. Watch.
There's going to be a formal grand jury indictment of Hunter Biden by the end of the month, according to a new court filing. David Weiss feels a little belated, but what's your reaction?
Well, I'm not surprised to hear that some of the dirt was being thrown around as early as 2015, but much like Amanda, I don't think I'm going to hold my breath. I don't have much faith, in this prosecutor. I don't have much faith in the Department of Justice, and I don't think the American people do as well. They've seen this two-tier justice system for way too long, and it really is heartbreaking, John.
Former White House doctor and current Texas Representative Ronnie Jackson echoed Crane's concerns. He tweeted, "I'm not holding my breath on a Hunter Biden indictment. I suspect our Justice Department is scheming to give him the deal of the century. Hunter belongs in prison for years, nothing less. He must face justice for his crimes." And Leo Terrell tweeted, "Breaking news, prosecutors to seek Hunter Biden's indictment on or before September 29th. I won't hold my breath." Folks, the time for accountability is long overdue. If Hunter Biden, a member of the president's family, can escape legal repercussions, it sets a dangerous precedent for the rule of law in America. It's not just Hunter Biden's a Hunter Biden problem. It's an American problem. It shakes the very foundations of trust in the institutions that are supposed to protect our freedoms and maintain law and order. No one should be above the law, not even Biden. So sit tight, because this saga is far from over. We'll keep you updated on every twist and turn in this unfolding drama. You better believe the stakes are as high as they can get. Now, America, let's be clear. This is not just another blip on the political radar. This is a seismic event that goes to the core of our republic, the rule of law. When someone is close to the president, as Hunter Biden is on the verge of indictment, yet there was nearly an attempt to sweep it all under the rug, it's more than just one family's problem. It's a spotlight on the cracks in our system. If justice isn't blind, if it plays favorites, what do we have left? What message does it send to the ordinary American who believes in fairness and equality before the law? So tonight we've peeled back the layers of a story that threatens to undermine our trust in the very institutions meant to protect us. It's not just a Hunter Biden issue, it's an American issue, and it's time for all of us to pay attention. Now, questions are mounting about Vice President Kamala Harris's readiness to step in for Biden. Angie, what's the latest?
The big question haunting Americans is 80-year-old President Joe Biden fit for office? We've all seen the videos of him stumbling and losing his train of thought. And if he can't carry on, guess who's next? Vice President Kamala Harris. Recently, while in Indonesia, she says she's prepared to step up if needed. Prepared for what exactly? Let's not forget her abysmally low approval ratings. Even more concerning, imagine an 86-year-old Biden at the end of a second term. The man's already struggling. Age isn't going to make it better. It's clear Harris is circling, waiting for her moment to lead. Americans deserve a president physically and mentally up for the job. It's time for the Biden administration to come clean on the president's health. The future of our nation is hanging in the balance. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. Bill Gates just spent millions on Bud Light, and it's not for a party. Gary, what's the real story behind this?
Tonight we delve deep into a bewildering saga that connects big tech, big beer, and yes, big questions. Why would Bill Gates, the tech giant and globalist puppeteer, invest $95 million in the crumbling empire of Anheuser-Busch? Could he be on a mission to save a dying American brand, or is there something more nefarious lurking behind those philanthropic spectacles? And if you've been supporting the Bud Light boycott, you'll definitely want to keep it up. We'll uncover why your continued resistance might just be a wrench in Gates' grand plan. Don't miss our explosive final thought. It's a revelation that might shake the very foundation of what you think you know about power, money, and influence in America. Now, let's dive into the meat of the story. Here's Bill Gates, a man worth billions, a guy whose name has been synonymous with innovation, tech, and yes, even certain level of globalist ambition. Yet what does he do? He plunges into the sinking ship of Anheuser-Busch, a beer company now infamous for its botched marketing moves. That's right, Gates has just spent a cool $95 million to snag 1.7 million shares of this stumbling beer giant right through his Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Trust. A trust, mind you, that's already infamous for holding assets worth a staggering $69 billion. Now, just don't take my word for it on how this disastrous situation is. We've got someone who knows the ins and outs of finance and politics and isn't afraid to speak her mind. Here's Trish Regan to shed some more light on this curious maneuver by Bill Gates, who seems more interested in global agendas than a can of Bud Light. Watch.
So Bud Light has a new investor. They got none other than this gentleman, Bill Gates, who is not necessarily popular among the rank and file Bud Light, traditional Bud Light drinkers, of which there are very few anymore. This would be Bill Gates, as I said, very much sort of focused around a global mandate. He's very much into vaccines, of course, has pushed those aggressively. So enter from stage left, none other than Mr. Bill Gates with his billions. And he's buying 1.7 million shares of the company. 1.7 million. Now, maybe he thinks he's getting a bargain here because he's only had to plunk down some $100 million for those shares. And so perhaps the investment advisor for Bill Gates is thinking, well, you know, they've gone down as far as they're going to go. And maybe these commercials will help bring back the audience. I don't think this audience or these drinkers are coming back, period. I think they're gone, depleted.
That's right. Trish confirms what we've been suspecting all along. Bill Gates, the tech wizard with a flair for global mandates and medical evangelism, is buying up shares of Bud Light. Odd, isn't it? Especially considering his lack of popularity among traditional Bud Light drinkers. You might think he's getting a bargain, but Trish has pointed out the core audience for this American staple, they're gone, depleted. Now, where were we? Yes, the crumbling empire of Anheuser-Busch. Once the king of beers, now the jester. 5 months ago, they gambled on the controversial influencer Dylan Mulvaney to lift Bud Light out of its rut. Spoiler alert, it was a fiasco. Sales are tanking and shares have dropped nearly 9% in half a year. And if you thought it couldn't get worse, you're wrong. In just the past week, they've fallen another 3%. We're not talking about a hiccup here, folks. We're talking about a full-blown catastrophe. And let's not forget about the competition. Modelo Especial is laughing all the way to the bank as it snatches up market share from Bud Light. It's like watching a slow-motion takeover. So why in the world would Gates bet on this losing horse? Could it be a millionaire's whim, or is there a deeper strategy at play? Now, before we get into the thick of it, there's something to ponder. Just like bad investments can cripple your financial well-being, age can sneak up on you, causing muscle loss and decreased performance. The solution? Well, our specially formulated product, rich in MyHMB, creatine, betaine, and vitamin D3, ensures you stay at the top of your game. Check out gainwithgary.com to get 41% off and some extra goodies. And now let's get back to it. The first clue that it isn't Gates' first dance with the devil comes from his investment in history. In February, Gates acquired 3.76% stake in Heineken, a move worth nearly $1 billion. And as he revealed in a Reddit Q&A back in 2018, he may not be a beer enthusiast, but he's certainly an enthusiast for beer stocks. So what's he trying to accomplish? Morgan Stanley analysts have something to say about this, and according to them, Anheuser-Busch performance in emerging markets in the Asia-Pacific region is something to keep an eye on. They predict profitability returning in 2024 with share buybacks resuming in 2026. So Gates may have his eye on a bigger global picture, something most of us might not see. And let's not shy away from Gates' recent controversies, accused of inappropriate conduct and questionable interviews with women at his private office. You'd think he'd lay low, especially from any additional controversies. But no, he dives right into another one, buying shares in a company that has had its own share of public relations nightmares. The audacity is staggering. Gates has made a calculated gamble. He's put down $95 million, peanuts for a man of his wealth, but enough to send a message. He believes Anheuser-Busch can come back from the brink. Will this be another feather in his cap, or will it turn into an Achilles heel? Only time will tell. So to sum it up, Gates, a man known for risk and controversial moves, has poured millions into Anheuser-Busch. He seems to be betting on their past marketing faux pas and sales downturns as temporary setbacks. He's making a gamble that Bud Light will once again reign supreme, or at least recover enough to make his investment worthwhile. Could this be Gates' plan to take a faltering American brand and reforge it as another cog in his globalist machine? It's chillingly possible. Gates is not a gambler. He's a puppet master, pulling strings from behind a veiled wall of faux altruism. He might be viewing this not as a failing beer brand, but as another way to extend his tentacles into American culture and beyond. So watch out, America. This isn't just an investment. This could be the opening gammon in a chess game most of us don't even know we're playing. Stay vigilant, because this development isn't merely curious, it's downright menacing. And there it is, America. Bill Gates, the man of many mysteries, has thrown his chips in with Anheuser-Busch. But why? Is it a clever investment, or is he betting on your complacency? Don't forget, every Bud Light sold now trickles up into Gates' portfolio. Are you comfortable propping up his next whatever it is? The ongoing Bud Light boycott isn't just a stance against poor corporate choices. It's becoming a vote against letting Gates expand his already immense influence. So if you needed another reason to avoid Bud Light like the plague, well, there it is. Each can, popped, might be a toast to a future molded by Gates' whims. America, it's time to wake up and see the bigger game that's being played. Now, bringing it home to Truth Social, they are riding a wave of positive news. Angie, what is behind this upswing?
Truth Social is making headlines again. Former President Donald Trump's very own social media platform is poised to go public after winning a crucial shareholder vote. That's right, Trump is extending his influence in the digital arena. The deal with Digital World Acquisition Corp, or DWAC, gives them another 12 months to finalize the merger with Trump Media and Technology Group, which is behind Truth Social. The platform could rake in hundreds of millions to challenge the social media elites, and yes, even take on X, the rebranded Twitter now owned by Elon Musk. Despite a few legal bumps like an $18 million SEC settlement, Trump's platform is setting the stage to be a stronghold for free speech and conservative values. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. Soros-linked district attorneys are stepping down amid surging crime and public discontent. Gary, what's the report saying?
Tonight we bring you a story that will shake the very foundations of justice in this country. George Soros, the billionaire puppet master behind a wave of left-leaning district attorneys, has just suffered a massive blow. And folks, it's a big win for we the people. Resignations, removals, and failures to secure re-election, a string of Soros-backed prosecutors are tumbling out of office like never before. What's fueling this shift? And how does this momentous shakeup protect your family and restore justice to our great nation? Well, stay with us for this special report. You don't want to miss the explosive final thought. All right, let's dive right into it, shall we? George Soros. The name is synonymous with the left-wing agenda, isn't it? He's the man behind the curtain, pulling the strings on district attorneys across this great nation, fueling a progressive wave that many see as a threat to law and order. But folks, you'll be glad to hear that George Soros has just taken a major hit, and you better believe that it's a big win for we the people. Democrat mega donor George Soros has poured millions into district attorney races across the country, influencing our justice system from the inside. But what happened? Well, according to reports, more than a dozen prosecutors linked to Soros-funded campaign committees have been ousted. They're either resigning or being forcibly removed from office. This information comes straight from the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund map. You cannot make this stuff up. So let's talk about some names. Kim Gardner, St. Louis Circuit Attorney, gone, resigned in May. Andrew Warren, Hillsborough State Attorney, removed by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. And let's not forget Baltimore City State Attorney Marilyn Mosby, defeated after a federal indictment. These Soros-backed DAs are toppling like dominoes one after another. Now, what does this mean for you? It means that justice is being restored to a system manipulated by the whims of a single billionaire. This man's millions have been buying elections, effectively bypassing the will of the voters. But now, justice is clawing its way back. We live in a world that's changing unpredictably, be it through natural disasters, political turmoil, or rising crime rates. No scripts, no warnings, but when you prepare, you take control. And right now, My Patriot Supply is offering a 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food kit. You prepare for natural disasters, so why not prepare for political ones? This limited time offer helps you take back control. Visit preparewithgary.com to secure your 25% discount. Now let's address another notable resignation. Mark Gonzalez of Nueces County, Texas. Gonzalez denies the allegations against him, but nonetheless resigned in the face of a citizen-led petition for his removal, which accused him of mismanagement and failing to pursue indictments. And you know what his next move is? Running for a Democratic Senate nomination to challenge Senator Ted Cruz. That's right. From failing to protect his county, he now wants to serve at a higher level. This gives you the idea of audacity of these Soros-linked DAs. Still not convinced? Soros, a billionaire with a notorious reputation, has spent at least $40 million to elect left-tilting, defendant-friendly district attorneys in the past decade, boasting a 90% success rate. But here's the twist. An estimated 70 Soros-linked prosecutors are serving in office, but the tides are changing. Public concern about rising crime rates and more lenient approaches to criminal offenses has finally put some of these DAs on the ropes. Let's not forget Rachel Rollins, elected Suffolk County District Attorney in 2018. She was elevated to U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts in 2021, but had to resign 18 months later after she committed multiple violations of the Hatch Act. This is not just about justice. It's about maintaining the integrity of the system. And states are fighting back. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, for instance, signed a bill creating a commission empowered to discipline and remove prosecutors. Quote, "I'm not going to stand idly by as rogue or incompetent prosecutors refuse to uphold the law." That's what he said. Let's just hope it gets applied to Fani Willis. Of course, we need more of this accountability for governance, and most of all, more power to the people. So, folks, you can say what you want about George Soros and his influence, but the tide is turning. In a justice system that should be impervious to the whims of billionaires, where your voice should be as loud as mine, this, my friends, is a significant win. And people are speaking, and they're saying enough is enough. The message is loud and clear. We, the people, will not be silenced, and neither will justice. Ladies and gentlemen, we started this journey tonight exploring a fundamental question. Who really controls justice in America? We've seen that a single billionaire, George Soros, has been pulling the strings, maneuvering to upend our justice system. But the American people are catching on, and they're fighting back. Soros-backed DAs are falling like dominoes, either resigning or being forcibly removed, and it's a sign that the power is finally returning to where it belongs, to you, the people. This is not just a conservative win, it's an American win. And tonight, let's celebrate this hard-fought victory for justice, law, and order, but let this also serve as a warning. We won't let our nation be sold out to the highest bidder. Our fight to protect and preserve American values is far from over. God bless you, and God bless America. And now, President Biden's abrupt exit from a Medal of Honor ceremony has many puzzled. Angie, what can you tell us?
President Biden shocked attendees at a recent Medal of Honor ceremony for Vietnam veteran Captain Larry Taylor. Despite ongoing COVID protocols, especially after Jill Biden's positive test, the president removed his mask near 81-year-old Taylor. Even more concerning, Biden abruptly left the ceremony, causing widespread bafflement. Footage shows him seemingly confused, missing a salute, and then hastily exiting. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre dismisses the criticism, but skeptics aren't buying it. This isn't new. Questions surrounding Biden's mental acuity have been swirling for a while. From flubbering his oath to rambling statements, it's high time for some accountability, don't you think? Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. That's all the news I have for this episode of N3 Prime Time. Now over to Gary with your comments from the comment section.
Welcome to the comment section. Tonight we're diving deep into the comments on a video that's making quite a buzz. You guessed it, the so-called Maui Fund by Oprah Winfrey and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The elite power duo is asking you, yes you, the hardworking everyday American, to donate to their Maui Fund. Now let's take a look at what our brilliant viewers have to say. Johnny writes, "I do not know if they are guilty of the alleged accusations, but I sure enjoy Oprah getting the same dose of medicine she gave to Trump." Yes, the poetic justice, isn't it? Oprah, the queen of talk shows, once served as a moral inquisitor of sorts for President Trump, but now she finds herself under scrutiny for how the money in the Maui Fund is really being used. The tables have turned, my friends, and it's a spectacle to behold. Next, Terry comments, "I was absolutely shocked that The Rock would even associate himself with that witch, Oprah. What a shameful thing to ask of people who are already struggling. Shame, shame, shame on you both. You both have enough money to rebuild everything yourselves." Well, Terry, you've hit the nail on the head. It's staggering how tone-deaf these two are, asking working-class Americans to donate to their fund when they themselves could easily cover the cost. Yes, the hubris. And Del Johnson chimes in with, "What do you expect? They both voted for Biden." Well, Del, you are right on the money. Their association with a spend-happy, out-of-touch administration seems to make perfect sense now. They all talk the talk of helping the little guy while raking in the cash for their pet projects. Unbelievable. And here comes September 4021 with a poignant remark. This is disgusting. They should get all their Hollywood friends to donate their money instead of asking the working class who are financially struggling. The nerve of them. Shame on them. Amen, September. Why aren't there wealthy private jet flying mansion living friends chipping in? Why is it always the burden on the average American citizen? And lastly, Adam says, I think the people are waking up. We are sick of this. Trump 2024. Adam, I couldn't agree more. The tide is turning. Americans are no longer falling for the smoke and mirrors, the charades put on by the elite. They're clamoring for real leadership, and many have their eyes set on 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, these comments give me some hope that common sense still exists in our great nation. Oprah and The Rock have shown us their true colors, and it's clear that America is ready for change. So thank you, viewers, for your insight, your intelligence, and your patriotism. And now moving on to our next segment, Looking at You, where we shine a spotlight on someone who desperately needs some more attention. It's time for our segment we like to call Looking at You, where we shine a spotlight on someone who is too important to be lost in the glare of the mainstream media's selective focus. Tonight, let's talk about Colton Moore, a senator who's making a splash with his incisive commentary on the current state of Georgia's government, district attorneys, and get this, actual checks and balances. Colton Moore recently held a press conference where he called out the politicization of the district attorney's office, specifically pointing at DA Fani Willis. He was unapologetic in his accusation that 83% of Georgians recognize the problems we're facing with these offices. He said, it's politicization. That's what it is. My friends, is this surprising to you? It's not to me. The DA's office shouldn't be a stage for political theater. It should be a fortress of justice. Watch.
My fellow Senate colleagues have published a statement, and they've recognized to their constituents that we do have a problem. Maybe they read in the paper, the AJC or the University of Georgia's poll that recognizes that 83% of Georgians across this state recognize that what is happening right now with District Attorney Fani Willis is politicization. That's what it is. The governor has made some statements in his own press conference a week ago that are very disgraceful to the office. The most prestigious office in this state, he calls and references me a grifter and a scammer. My friends, I represent 200,000 hardworking Georgians in Northwest Georgia. The people that I represent that duly elected me, they sweat hard for their tax dollars, and they don't want their tax dollars funding this type of corrupt government power. I challenge the governor to go to Northwest Georgia, find anyone working hard for their tax dollars, and ask them, do you want your tax money funding District Attorney Fani Willis? You know, it's very disingenuous to say that, well, she only makes $120,000 a year, and that if we pull that away, we would have to pull that away from every district attorney. Well, let me be more clear. When I say defund Fani Willis, I mean defund all of her Georgia state tax dollars besides the $1 that we are constitutionally required to give her. You see, this governor wants to elaborate that we have a separation of powers. Well, we do. But any high school kid coming out of government class understands that we also have a thing called checks and balances. My role as a senator is to call a special session on behalf of my constituents and any Georgian who feels that their tax dollars shouldn't be going to Fani Willis. Because we as a legislature have no power to do anything until we are in session. And that's why we must have session now, because we must investigate Fani Willis. How in the world can my friends that call themselves Democrats and champion themselves in criminal justice reform ignore the fact that half of the inmates at the Fulton County Jail have yet to be charged with a crime, and there are innocent people who are dying of bed bugs in that facility? How in the world can the citizens of Fulton County demand justice and not get it when they see things like Young Thug and Young Slime going to the courtroom for a year and yet to get through Von Dorr and pick a jury. But yet this district attorney said she's going to take down these political prisoners in 6 months. The millions of dollars that are being spent, both federally and through the state of Georgia and through local Fulton County tax dollars, are funding this type of corruption. And what is so embarrassing is Congress has gotten a head start in investigating and defunding Fani Willis way further ahead than we are here in the Georgia legislature. Very embarrassing. You know, what's also embarrassing is that our governor says that we have election integrity, and then a week later is caught on hidden camera saying that any machine can be hacked. Furthermore embarrassing is that my fellow Senate colleagues, in their letter to their constituents, they say that a special session is a waste of taxpayer money. Well, my constituents believe Fani Willis is a waste of taxpayer money. Those same senators also said 72 hours after the governor says that any machine can be hacked, they say that we are the #1 state for election integrity. It's unbelievable. What's also unbelievable is the constitutional crisis that we are in. When I talk to my fellow senator and they are afraid to speak out because they are worried that they are going to find themselves in the crosshairs of this rogue district attorney. What happened to checks and balances? What happened to separation of powers? You see, those senators, they're duly elected to represent the 200,000 people that they represent. But those 200,000 people are being disenfranchised in our republic because their senators have cowered down. My friends, I ask that we go forward and continue putting pressure on these legislators because the legislative branch is the saving grace, but it cannot take advantage of its extraordinary constitutional power until we are in session. And I'm going to be open to any questions and all questions, but I have a few people.
And then we come to the governor. Yes, Governor Kemp, who Moore called out for the language used against him, calling him a grifter and a scammer. Moore correctly said, my friends, he said, I represent 200,000 hardworking Georgians in Northwest Georgia. They don't want their tax dollars funding this kind of corrupt government power. What happened to the esteemed office of the governor, who's supposed to represent the will of the people and protect the integrity of his state's institutions? Instead, we see an office soaked in mockery and disrespect for those who question it. But it doesn't stop there. Moore took it a step further, questioning the necessity of sending taxpayer money to Fani Willis' office. He's asking for a special session to investigate the district attorney and raise the question, how can Democrats ignore the fact that half of the inmates in the Fulton County Jail have yet to be charged with a crime? Do you smell that, America? That is the foul odor of hypocrisy. We can't afford to sit by while our system ignores checks and balances and basic constitutional mandates. Colton Moore isn't just talking. He's taking action. He wants to go into session and get things sorted. What he's saying is, don't let fear of political repercussions stop you from representing your 200,000 constituents. Moore highlights that it's the legislative branch that has the power and the responsibility to act, but they can't until they're in session. The legislative branch, he's saying, is a saving grace, and he's calling on it to make the changes so that we so desperately need. In a world where so many of our elected officials are more interested in Twitter likes and sound bites, Colton Moore reminds us what it looks like when a public servant does his job. So tonight we're looking at you, Colton Moore. Keep fighting the good fight. And here's our final thought for tonight. We've explored stories that strike the very foundation of our republic and our roles as American citizens. Harvard, a supposed beacon of intellectual freedom, is becoming more of an echo chamber than an institution fostering rigorous debate. If our emerging generations are taught to muzzle themselves, then who's really scripting our future? Then there's the three-legged party animal in Florida. More than just a comical interlude, this bear is a wake-up call. It reminds us that the boundaries between our organized society and the untamed world are indeed fragile. And then we have the questions of competency at the highest levels of leadership. Is President Biden truly equipped to guide this republic, or are we seemingly steering aimlessly into turbulent waters? The citizens of this great republic deserve nothing less than transparency. In the realm of social media, Truth Social is positioning itself as a bastion for free expression. Is this a courageous act against the titans of Silicon Valley, or merely a construction of a new echo chamber? That's for you to judge. But here's the bottom line, folks. Whether it's a former president willing to defend himself in court or alarming signals about the state of our republic's institutions, these stories are critical. They shape the very fabric of a free society that sometimes we take for granted. Our lives, our liberties, they're not just handed to us. They're earned, safeguarded, and must be actively preserved every single day. This is the narrative of the great American Republic, and you're an integral part of it. Now, my heartfelt thanks to Angie for her compelling news briefs tonight, and to everyone engaging in our live chat. Your participation truly enriches the dialogue. It's crucial we keep these conversations alive. Now, as we've discussed, our nation's institutions and values seem as fragile as the peace between that Florida suburb and its mischievous three-legged bear. And just as homeowners are locking their liquor cabinets, it might be time to secure your assets. And that's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. Since the 70s, U.S. dollars experienced an 85% drop in value due to its detachment from gold. In these unpredictable times, gold remains a steadfast asset. Visit nextnewsgold.com or call 877-646-5347 for a free quarter-ounce gold standard coin. And even if you're not investing, give them a call. Tell them thank you for sponsoring this program. They need to hear from you. They are the gold company that I trust. So thank you for tuning in tonight and for all of your live chat participation. The power to make America a better republic lies with each and every one of you. Share the link and tell a friend if you've enjoyed tonight's show. I'm Gary Franchi. Remember, I am not here to turn you into a follower. My aim is to make you a leader among the people. Good night, America.